In 72 AD, the Roman Empire was at the height of its power. Its cities buzzed with trade, politics, and entertainment. And at the center of that entertainment was blood. In the provincial town of Pompeii, beneath the shadow of Mount Vesuvius, gladiators trained for combat, survival, and perhaps, one day, freedom. This is what a single day looked like for one of them. Before the sun rose over the Campanian hills, the doors of the gladiator barracks clanged open. Enslaved fighters and voluntary recruits woke before dawn, sleeping in basic dormitories of cots or pallets pressed side by side in cramped chambers. Each man rose, dressed, and prepared for a day shaped by discipline, ritual, and ritualized violence. Their training took place in a ludus or school. Pompeii's facility was notably open and airy compared to the more congested schools of Rome. Here, under the supervision of the lanista, every move was monitored. The lanista was both trainer and warden, a figure embodying physical discipline and financial ambition. He held the power of life and death over his men, and although some gladiators saw him as a father figure, others feared him as much as any opponent in the arena. Morning drills began with wooden swords, twice the weight of real blades, designed to exhaust limbs and sharpen reflexes. Gladiators formed pairs and sparred, their sandals scuffing gritty sand floors as sweat dripped from brows. They practiced against wooden posts called pallas, repeating the same movements again and again, carving muscle memory with each strike. The ritual rehearsal of combat was relentless. Missed blocks resulted in lashes from the lanista, wrong footwork earned bruises, and in the arena, poor performance could spell death. Discipline was enforced by fear and repetition. Fines, beatings, isolation, each punishment was calculated to reshape the man into a weapon. But despite the brutality, camaraderie grew among the fighters. Shared suffering built a certain type of brotherhood, one that sometimes extended even to the arena floor. By midday, training ceased briefly. Gladiators ate together in a communal hall, served hearty portions of barley, boiled beans, oatmeal, dried fruit, and occasionally ash-supplemented drinks, produced from burned plant material believed to aid recovery. These heavy plant-based meals earned them the nickname hordeari, barley eaters, and intentionally built corporal fat cushions as protection in combat. Fat not only absorbed superficial cuts, but also prolonged life in the spectacle, allowing for more drawn-out, dramatic fights. Resting meant more than food. Gladiators' medical routines included massages and warm baths to ease sore muscles and manage injuries. Medical care provided to protect the significant financial investment each fighter represented. Some schools even employed Greek physicians well versed in bone setting, wound dressing, and herbal remedies. Though brutal by modern standards, this regimen extended careers for those adept and lucky enough to survive. Between exercises, they maintained their public personas. Many gladiators adopted stage names like Spiculus, Crixus, or Flamma, crafting reputations as entertainers as much as warriors. These names echoed in graffiti found on Pompeian walls. Saladus the Thracian makes the girls sigh, reads one. Children drew stick-figure battle scenes in the dust. Women collected tokens bearing the faces of their favorites, and taverns hummed with wagers. To the public, gladiators were paradoxes. They were slaves, yet admired. Brutes, yet idolized. In a society obsessed with hierarchy, they stood as living contradictions, low in class, high in fame. And this fame, however fleeting, gave some fighters leverage, whether in securing lighter bouts, better food, or in rare cases, freedom. Not every day led to the arena. In Rome, gladiatorial events occurred infrequently, sometimes just 10 days a year. But Pompeii maintained its own amphitheatre, one of the earliest surviving Roman venues, seating about 20,000 people. When a match was scheduled, tension filled the air. Announcements appeared on wooden billboards across the city, listing competitors, match types, and timings. The games were a mix. Morning sessions often featured beast hunts, midday executions of condemned criminals, and afternoons reserved for gladiatorial bouts. These events, known as munera, were sponsored by magistrates or wealthy elites seeking political favor or popular acclaim. A well-funded spectacle could launch a man into office or ruin him in debt. On the day of a fight, gladiators were called forward. Names were drawn theatrically, sometimes predetermined to build suspense. That evening, a pair might be teamed. Perhaps a heavily armored Mumio faced a lightly armored Retiarius wielding net and trident, each pairing crafted to entertain. The pairing was often symbolic: speed versus strength, strategy versus power. The Mumio, modeled after a Roman legionary, carried a tall shield and short sword. The Retiarius, inspired by fishermen, wore minimal armor and relied on agility. Their encounters were like choreography, where unpredictability kept the audience on edge. Retiarii fought without helmet or shield, relying on agility and finesse. Inscriptions from Ephesus, Pompeian frescoes, and tombstones testify to their fame and success despite social stigma. Some were famed womanizers. Others were mocked for their perceived effeminacy, even as they defeated more heavily armed foes. As a gladiator marched into the amphitheater, his world narrowed to sand, steel, and spectators. He entered via the Porta Libitinensis, a symbolic doorway used to escort the dead. The arena floor was raked clean between bouts, shrouded in expectation. Spectators, Roman citizens, women, and children, filled the tiers. Some children may have sketched earlier fights on walls, drawn there by first-hand exposure to violence. Trumpets and horns sounded, musicians played, and priests carried images of gods into the arena. The editor or sponsor emerged last, wielding ultimate fate over victory and death. The moment before the clash was sacred. Fighters saluted the editor with the famous, if debated phrase, "Those who are about to die salute you." The crowd quieted. Then the combat began. Combat erupted. Clashing metal, grunts, blood flowing, each move dramatic. The Mumillo wielded a short sword and large shield. The Retiarius danced, cast his net, and jabbed with a trident. Shields splintered. Sand turned red. Bouts could end with missio, a reprieve respecting performance, or with death by dagger or sword. If a fighter surrendered, he raised a finger to plead for mercy. The editor gauged the crowd's mood. Thumbs turned, chants rose. If the fighter had fought bravely, he might live. If not, a killing blow was administered swiftly, often to the neck. The crowd loved drama, not just death. If the gladiator lived, he returned to barracks battered but alive. His fellow fighters eyed him, some with respect, others with jealousy. Surgeons stitched wounds, slaves massaged limbs, and silence fell over the chamber. Rare success brought rewards. Prize money, gifts, adulation. Gladiators like Spiculus and Flamma survived many battles, rejected offers of freedom because of fame's intoxicating allure. Yet most remained captives, defined by the sand of the arena. The wooden sword of freedom, Rudes, was symbolic. Less than 5% earned it. Many others died silently. No tombstone, no ceremony. Gladiators represented both spectacle and shame. They were admired and despised. Cicero once called them morally lowest, but admired their courage. Their matches were religious tribute and political theatre, often honouring ancestors or appeasing spirits in death rites. The arena offered Rome a way to reinforce order through chaos. It was a theatre of dominance, where the empire reminded its citizens who held power. In the sand, one man's pain became another's pride. But for those who fought, each match was a gamble with fate. Pompeii's riot in 59 AD led to a 10-year ban on games, but they resumed with gladiators again at the heart of spectacle. In 79 AD, the infamous eruption buried these streets and these stories forever beneath ash, along with the arena, the barracks, and the fighters. If you found this exploration into the life of a Roman gladiator interesting, be sure to check out our video on the life of a galley slave during the Age of Sail, on your screen now. But if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Stay curious, and we'll see you on the next one.